Hello, my name is Caleb Langrell. When you think of a target in archery, you probably think about a bullseye with the various rings around it for the different point values. However, in the 1900 Olympics, the first Olympics in which archery was an event, they didn't use targets, they instead used pigeons. They would release live pigeons and have the competitors shoot them out of the air. Archery was around long before the 1900 Olympics, however. It began as a means of survival, evolved into a major part of warfare, and finally settled on the sport we all recognize it as today. To introduce you to this sport, I'll be describing its origins, relating its uses on the battlefield, and finally telling of the growing popularity of it as a competitive sport. To gain an understanding of one of the world's most well-known methods of survival, we must first take a look at its origins. As stated by Tom Brisset in his article Strictly Bow Hunting, Egyptians produced the first composite bows, which were used by light charioteers in combat. They used four main materials when they produced these bows, and I have a basic bow here to use as an example. They used animal horn and wood as this part here, the handle where you would grab it, and the part that, I believe this is upside down. No, I have it right. And the part that flexes when you pull back the bowstring. But this would have been wood and animal horn, like I said already, and it would have been held together by animal sinew or glue, and the string would have been made out of sheep intestines. So those four things would have been put into making a bow roughly about this type of bow, just a basic bow. The light charioteers were highly effective at flanking the enemy, and they often helped to bring around a decisive victory. They were highly trained and skilled, and the light arrows they used could penetrate most armor with ease. Most armor from that time, that is. After its origins in ancient Egypt, archery continued to develop, and over time became a far more important part of war. According to Scott Byers from Top End Sports, as people spread out of Egypt and mixed with the peoples of Europe, they brought the bow with them. The Roman Empire owed much of its military superiority to its skilled archers, and bows continued to be the main ranged weapon in Europe until the end of the 16th century. Romans had many different kinds of arrow tips for their arrows, with the three most commonly found being broadheads, blunts, and bodkin points. Broadheads were wide flat arrowheads used to cause deep wide cuts in the victims. They were more commonly used for war or for hunting large game, and they're still used today for hunting. Blunts, which as the name suggests were blunt, were used for either target practice or stunning small game. Bodkin points were small short points with a cross section, and what they did was help the arrows to fly farther as well as pierced light varieties of armor, but not the heavy, thick plate metal. They couldn't pierce those, they would just make a nice sized dent. When 1600 AD rolled around, muskets were making their appearance on the war scene, and the number of bows on the battlefield was steadily being reduced, as more countries added muskets to their arsenal. Less than 2 decades later, the bow had been eliminated from nearly all European armories in the stead of its gunpowder-powered counterpart. Excuse me. Now that we're aware of the origins and usage in warfare of archery, we can discuss what it's become nowadays, a widely viewed sport. World Archery states that there are an estimated 8 million people around the world participating in world tournaments. Participation from the 150 registered nations grows each year, with 80 of them currently sending full teams to the tournaments, and the other 70 sending in single participants or just a few people, but not enough to make up a team. Viewership has also risen, with 750 million viewers tuning in to said World Archery tournaments on the television, and the archery event in the 2012 Olympics completely filling the number of seats that was allotted to the stadium for that event, with hardly any standing room left over for anybody else that managed to get in. Throughout these past few minutes, you've learned of the origins of archery, the usage of archery in battle, and archery's current form, a widely viewed professional sport. What began as a means of survival, evolved into a way to fight wars, then ended up as the sport and pastime most of us know today. While we may not use pigeons as targets any longer, some of us still go outside to practice our aim whenever we can, and enjoy archery in a way our ancestors never had the chance to.